Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Spanglish Sports World English Edition on this Wednesday. Well, let me remind you to first start that this show is being televised on the Spanglish World Network and Single TV's channel 249 and 250. Remind you that to go and download the application of Single TV on iOS and Android stores. Remember, the application is completely free, so there is no reason why not to download it. As well, remember that Single TV can also be watched on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Well, on the screen, you can see a friendly face from one of Spanglish World Network's most liked shows, Obi Spencer, and the show is called Me, My Scotch, and I. Obi, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on board today. Look forward to talking a little sports with you. Absolutely.
Well, you had a great show on Friday night. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're speaking of last Friday, I presume, with, I guess, Anthony, a young up-and-coming NBA agent. He was very excited. He gave me some information off screen that was real good, off the record stuff, can't share. But he and I are both looking forward to seeing how the draft goes and see if he's going to get a little more fame and fortune for himself and a few guys that we've actually heard of.
Awesome. So, Obi, I want to start right off the top with some of the games from last night's NBA action. And we'll start off with probably one of the most exciting games that in the recent days, and that was the Boston Celtics. I don't know what to say anymore. The Boston seems to be pulling stuff out of from under the rug. What did you think of the game?
I'll tell you what. That game had two storylines in game, and then two major storylines off the court. Let's start with off the court. They saved Brad Stevens' job for another year, and they saved the GM McHale's job for another year. That's the first thing. They said, okay, you can do it without Brown, Jason Tatum. You save some jobs. On the court, Jason Tatum is trying to establish that he is one of the superstars of the NBA. He's like that guy. Like, if you're better than Jason Tatum, you're a superstar. If you're not a superstar. So can Jason Tatum make that next step? He's got the Nets standing in front of him now to see if he can do that. On the other hand, you got Washington, Bradley Beal, unbelievable season. Westbrook, just an engine that won't quit. But it does. I should say the heart doesn't quit, but his body gets tired running at 99,000 RPMs every day for 62 regular season games. And we saw that happen in the second half of the game last night against Boston. He's got less than 24 hours rest, and he gets to try to do it again against the Pacers tonight. I think it was a great game. I think Tatum scored the quietest 50 points because that's what happens when you get up by that much and you stay ahead that much. And that was that game in a nutshell. Tatum being all he could be, and Westbrook just a little tired. He gets that way because he's carrying teams on his shoulders.
It was a good thing for the Celtics to win last night because from the other side, their partners from the MLB didn't do too well yesterday. So at least they got half the party. But one of the things that amazed me about the last quarter of that game was that Boston stopped the Wizards completely from scoring throughout the quarter. It was unbelievable. To the point that there was a stretch of about, I think it was 4.5 minutes that the Wizards didn't even get in close to the paint.
Yeah, their defense was there. It was there for real. They are. Now we'll see if we get the big three for Brooklyn, and if we do, if their defense is enough. That's hard to do. The flip side is everyone can play offense against Brooklyn, so it could be a lot of scoring in that. So I don't look as great as they were. What they did it against Washington. And these games are fun. I love this idea. Look, I'm staying up here on the East Coast at 10 o'clock tonight. We all know why if you're an NBA fan. I'll be up as long as that game takes. But then again, the loser has another shot. And here was a game where Washington has another shot against two teams that are probably a tier below them for the chance to play the 76ers. And we'll see. Again, playing the Nets is not the best prize in the world for winning a basketball game. And I think any two of the big three will be enough for the Nets to take care of Boston. But like you said, they played an impressive game. It was a game. It was as close to a must-win and go home as you can. It's win and get a day's rest versus win and having to play immediately against another team. So good on them. They deserve kudos for their game for sure.
So let's look at the other game that happened last night, and that's an Indiana Pacers team that is outscoring the rivals by more than 25 points. That it hasn't happened in the last 5 years at least.
Oh yeah, I mean they blew the doors off of them. You know, it wasn't much to look at. I mean, I think to me as a former Sixer fan, I just love McConnell. So anytime the Pacers are on, I don't care about the rest of the game. I just like to watch McConnell. He had a great year, getting his role expanded when he went there, and I'm happy to see them win. I'd like to see them beat the Wizards, and then I'd like to watch the Sixers crush them. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, it's a fun team. They're a fun team. They got McBuckets, Doug McDermott, leader. Led the NCAA in scoring his senior year. One of those guys. Was he going to be an NBA starter? Yes, he is. Congratulations to him. He cemented that. So it's a team of a bunch of guys in Indiana that are just one step below greatness. And then you got Charlotte, which I look at the Charlotte Hornets. MJ's the owner. I think that's great. We're seeing a lot of players getting into ownership now. I think that's fantastic. It'll be interesting to see how that affects owner and player negotiations, the union negotiations. But watching MJ having had consistent trouble building a team, at the same time, you're watching in the NFL, your Russell Wilsons and your Aaron Rodgers saying, I know how to build a team. It's quite an interesting dichotomy. Maybe we'll get to some NFL talk, but just who should build a team, who should run a team. That's all comes into play with Charlotte just never being able to figure out how to get it done. I mean, we just saw the Kemba Walker team win. Kemba Walker went to Charlotte and then quickly left. So, yeah, Indiana blew the doors off, but off of a lesser team for sure. So I wish them. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I wish them luck tonight. Or tomorrow night, I guess it is. But it should be a good game. And like I said, TJ McConnell comes to Philly. We'll be happy to have him here.
So one of the games going tonight. It's a very interesting game. The former NBA champs against the current NBA champs in the Lakers. I think the Lakers have this game, but you never know what Warrior team you're going to get. So it's very difficult to predict.
Look, this game, the first time the Warriors won the NBA championship, they played Cleveland with LeBron. LeBron had nobody with him. Right? I mean, nobody. I can't think the guy's name out of Australia became a superstar playing along with LeBron with everyone else out. LeBron had the greatest series ever for a guy, I think, not to win in the NBA. And Steph got his first championship. Now we get the exact opposite. We got the Lakers at full strength, and Steph trying to do it alone, with all due respect to Draymond Green. And you know, if Steph shoots the lights out, there's always a chance because he's scoring 3 every time he shoots. If I told you today that Steph is going to go 20 for 30 from behind the 3 and score 60 points, you wouldn't look at me like I'm crazy. You'd be, that's impressive, but it's possible, right? So right now, Steph is must-see basketball. And that Laker team, we want to see if they're going to gel and get over their injuries. If you like basketball or if you like the NBA, you need to call and work and be a few hours late tomorrow if it's going to be tired, because this is a much-watch game. You ask me who's going to win, I'm not going to pick against a full, healthy Lakers team. But, boy, I'd like to see Steph do something magical. I'd like to see Steph put that team on his shoulders and get the win and look at LeBron and say, you know what? I can take a worse team and beat you on a great team once myself. I just think it would be awesome. So it's all-out basketball. It's 2 of the 5 best players alive right now. It's the best shooter of all time versus arguably the best player of all time. And you know, anyone who knows me knows I don't like to discuss who the greatest is because it's a team sport. But these are 2 all-around studs who are going to be going at it. Anthony Davis is probably the difference maker here because there's no number 2 guy to help Steph out. If Anthony Davis isn't even the number 1 at this point. But yeah, this is super basketball. This is what the NBA wanted. This is what the NBA was hoping for when they made these games. And yeah, a few weeks ago I told LeBron to be quiet when complaining about this, and I'm happy I did. And I hope LeBron goes ahead and shuts me up back and makes for a great game.
And the other game is the Grizzlies against the Spurs. I don't see the Memphis Grizzlies doing much these days against a Spurs team that is on a hot streak.
Yeah, I mean, that game's a lot tougher to figure out. I kind of was hoping it was the Mavericks. They got more storylines, but you know, they didn't get in. And it's not even, again, it feels like both of these situations, the East and the West, the 7 and 8 teams are significantly better than the 9 and 10 teams. This is almost like the year you didn't want to play in games. Like you feel confident saying the 7 and 8 teams are the better teams. So this is like one of those games we get to watch just because it's on. I don't got much to say about it. You know, the winner gets a shot at the loser of the other game, and you know they cross their fingers and hope for some dramatic success.
So interestingly enough, today there was supposed to be a rumor popping through the social media and Twitter saying that Masai Ujiri said that he is no longer coming back to Toronto next season. Now, people have asked Ujiri over this past season where his decision is lying, if he's renewing they are renewing his contract or not, if he's going to go somewhere and into the NBA office, but no response has been coming out of him.
Yeah. And of course you don't respond to that. You don't respond to that till you're willing to make up your mind. My guess is there are some contracts. I didn't see the rumor mill today on that. But my general response to that is it could be true, but you're not going to talk about it until all deals are done and final if you can. You go and spoil something like that early, you may miss out on a few $1 million, and you don't want to do that. So you just you let your team leak what you want to have leaked. The Toronto Raptors will leak what they want to have leaked, and yet in the end, everyone's still there trying to keep their millions in their pockets and going on from there.
Although, it doesn't seem illogical, the idea that Masai Ujiri might not be with the team next year, considering that there weren't major moves made, not in the offseason, the past offseason, but basically they sold the whole team out at the end of the season. And, Masai is one of those guys that likes to build championship teams, doesn't like to destroy championship teams. And with Kyle Lowry being on the free agent block, they still have a contract to fill with some of the guys that are still outstanding from the last season. I don't know. It looks like we might have a new GM in Toronto, a new president in Toronto very soon.
I mean, it's real possible. And if you're Toronto's ownership, maybe you feel the same way. It's time to get rid of him. Lowry's going to walk for nothing, right? I mean, Lowry had like the "I'm leaving. This is my last game in Toronto" moment. Everybody was, sad and happy. He'd come, he had done his job, he'd been a great player for the team, and that was going to be his last game because he was a free agent. He was going to go somewhere and try to chase down a title, be it Toronto. Boston or Miami, wherever it was going to be.
Philly, he's home.
Philly, yeah. I mean, everybody in the East was after him, and he went nowhere. And so maybe if you're the ownership group in Toronto, that's the other side. So I don't know who's pushing who out here because it is plausible that either side is not happy about it.
So let's drift away from the court and go into the field, and we'll drift into MLB. Yesterday, some outstanding performances. Let's go to no longer Trout Nation, but Ohtani Nation. Ohtani is just that kind of a player that gets you going. I mean, this guy is on fire. Whether it's with the bat or with his glove pitching, there is no stopping him. He's becoming one of those legends in the game. And as Stroman said, he's a mythical legend. That's what Mr. Stroman had to say.
Yeah, look, I don't know what happens in Anaheim. They get the best players in the game, and they don't win. Baseball's like that. Ask Mr. Cub himself. It is the one sport where the best player can truly be on a team that languishes, and that seems to be what Anaheim's role is. So now maybe they'll get lucky, win by addition by subtraction without Trout. I don't see how that's possible. Ohtani is much-watched baseball. That shot he hit yesterday, the look on his face was superb. He hit that ball, and the look on his face was, I can't believe how hard I hit that ball. Can you all see how hard I hit that ball? That ball's never coming down. Leads the league in home runs, leads the league in batting average against. This guy's chasing a Cy Young and an MVP at the same time. It's wonderful to watch. You got to see him when he's on. If you enjoy baseball, he's the guy to watch because he is doing it from the proverbial both sides of the plate, both sides of the court. He's pitching adequately, better than adequately, and he's hitting bombs, just knocking them all over the place. It's a shame he won't be in the playoffs, but that's baseball's problem. That's why baseball keeps adding more teams, so maybe they get their best players in. That they got to figure that out some other way. But yeah, he is the story of baseball this season. Finally healthy, full of time, playing both sides, smashing the ball, pitching 100 miles per hour. You want him to do it, he'll do it.
No, the funny thing is, if we went back to the 80s, someone would be saying, let's look at what's inside his bat, because that lumber is just knocking balls out.
Well, if we were in the 80s, we'd be asking what's in his locker. And yeah, look, maybe we should be doing that anyway, but I don't care if we should. Look, you're a professional athlete. In my job, they don't ask what's in my cup as long as it appears sober. So if it's all the caffeine in the world, I'm good to go. That's the drug of choice if you're in an office job. But I'm getting sidetracked here. Let's. I don't believe anything's afoot, but he's spectacular.
I think in a way this is benefiting Mike Trout because the pressure is off him. All the eyes are off him right now, and on to Ohtani. I think that Mike Trout might have one of those seasons that will go unscathed, but he will relax and start hitting again the way he's used to hitting.
Now things may have changed in the last week, but as of a week ago yesterday, he was still leading the majors in offensive WAR, which make of these new stats what you will. It is the one that's easiest to say, hey, he is the best offensive player in baseball. He was, and so, I don't know if he needs the pressure off him. Look, he got there. There was no pressure on him because when he first was there was this guy, Albert Pujols, who just left the Angels on the team, was the best player in baseball. He quickly surpassed him. He's been the best player in baseball and flown under the radar for almost 10 years now. I don't think he feels that pressure. He made the choice to stay in Anaheim, probably because it's just the right amount of pressure for him. I don't know him personally, so I can't say for sure. But obviously, he could have not signed that long-term deal and come home to Philly, gone to New York and made all the money in the world, gone to the Dodgers. He's making a lot of money, more money than I would know what to do with. He's playing in a middle market team that doesn't seem to win, but he's the best hitter in the game right now, was the last few years. And when he gets back from his injury, I expect him to continue to be.
So the other story that made the waves last night was Spencer Turnbull. Another no-hitter in Major League Baseball. It seems like every single day we are facing either perfect games or no-hitters with no problem.
They're becoming boring. You put 5 no-hitters and the 7-inning no-hitter that makes 6 in the season. You know what? Every week I put on the Major League Baseball television shows, and I'm like, oh, a no-hitter. I want to see a no-hitter. This guy never pitched a complete game before in his life. He pitched a no-hitter. We found out before the season they were deadening the ball, and now we have 6 no-hitters. I prefer no-hit baseball to 13-run baseball, but we're still getting 13-run baseball. So it's lost its specialness. It's another nobody threw a no-hitter. Okay, all
right. I love your attitude toward the commissioner's rule. So, interestingly enough, one of the games last night was the Blue Jays against the Red Sox. The American League East leading Red Sox, who are now only a half a game in front of the Blue Jays after last night, an 8-0 trashing of the Red Sox, and a little guy by the name of Ryu that pitched another 7 innings of great baseball for the Blue Jays. What do you think is going to happen? Because behind that win tonight, there might be another one. And it would be the first time the Toronto Blue Jays have been in top of the American League East scoreboard in a long time.
It's the quarter point of the season, give or take, right? And we saw the Yankees come out slow, and it looked like Boston was going to go ahead and take off running. They slowed down. Toronto didn't put them away. Tampa Bay didn't put them away. They still won. The Yankees won yesterday despite COVID issues. There's nothing to show me right now that the Yankees aren't going to take the American League East. I don't see that happening right now. So I think Toronto has a nice story to tell. I think Boston has a great story to tell. They may be there for some wild cards, but tell me how a game and a half lead right now feels comfortable for anybody over the New York Yankees. Stanton and Judge are monsters. You feel like they get a win every 5 days with Cole. I hate the Yankees, and I can't say enough good things about them this year because their fans were so, oh my goodness, we're 5-10 to start the season. We're horrible. Now what are they? 23-19. This is what I said when they were 5-10. They go 500 the rest of the season, have 1 10-game win streak. They'll be 5 games over 500 when the season ends. And here they are already 5 games over 500. So it's hard for me to imagine any one of these teams holding off the Yankees. I just don't think they're good enough to maintain that long for a whole season. Nothing suggests that they are, to me.
So let's look at the American League Central, and you have the White Sox running away with so far. They have the biggest lead of any team in the majors right now. In front, and it's just a different White Sox team. With Miguel Sano and Abreu, that team is bound for greatness.
They have such an interesting dynamic because they're this young team. I mean, Mercedes is an old rookie, but they're a young team, and they got this old manager, right? And even what happened this week with them, 3-0 pitch, home run. The Roosters like, somebody needs to hit him about the guy on his own team. Then they throw behind him. I don't know if it was intentional. Yet somehow they go out and they play baseball and they win, and they are they're the most dominant team in baseball for their division, but they're the team that's in the lead in their division that everyone thought was going to lead their division, that nobody seems to be thinking is going to get caught. They're the closest to a dominant team in baseball we've got right now. So, yeah, I'm with you. I feel they're playoff bound. I thought they were the team to beat from the Central to start the season, and I continue to feel that way.
So I don't want to go to the American League West because there is no consistency there. There is the Oakland Athletics that seem to be winning that league, that particular league division with every single year. They are powerhouse with no name players, and then you have the team that follows them, which is the Houston Astros, that they have everyone under the sky in that team in terms of a name, and they just don't seem to win. So I don't know. It's although Houston is in second spot, with Correa doing a good job, but I don't see any of those two teams advancing into. They will advance into the playoffs, but I don't see them going beyond that.
I don't know. I mean, Houston's an interesting story because they're going about crying about being booed at and just winning. I mean, they're winning. They're playing 570 ball, on pace to win 90 games. Maybe they get past Oakland. Maybe Oakland stays in front of them. If they win 90 games, they're probably the second or the first wild card with somebody in the American League East. Like we said, the Central's not much. I don't want to count Houston out. They're a team that's playing with a chip on their shoulder, and if they want to cheat to win because they feel they need to cheat to win, they're a team that's shown that they're willing to cheat to win and have the mindset to figure out ways to cheat to win. So you guys I'm not saying that they're cheating at all. It's not my saying, but if that's what you're willing to do, you can find a way to do it to give you that edge. If that's, if the same power folks are in place. So I wouldn't count Houston out. They're enjoying being the bad guy, and they're doing well with it.
So Now we drift to the other side of the coin, and we go to the National League West, where we have two pitchers in a single team that are taking the San Francisco Giants in a different direction. And Gossel is doing something that we have never seen in a long time from him, and he's winning games with a lot of strikeouts. And then you have the San Diego Padres that are charged with players. We know that the LA Dodgers picked up Pujols because they are seeing. I imagine they are seeing a Corey Seager that probably won't be signing with them next year. So I don't know. I don't see the Dodgers right now as the powerhouse that they were built to be.
Well, the Dodgers, the biggest issue for the Dodgers has been Mookie Betts not being Mookie Betts. So to me, the old going back to the mean in this case, the regression to the mean for the Dodgers actually means improving. And they're now 7-3 in their last 10. They had a horrific stretch, no question about it. They've won 2 in a row. Their pitching staff is still just bonkers. I'm not going to count the Dodgers out. I'm not going to count the Padres out, and I'm not going to say San Francisco's two youngsters.
So, as we were saying,
looks like sorry there. Looks like my internet. But you're not going to get me to say anything negative about any of those 3 teams. However, I'm just going to go with I picked the Dodgers at the beginning to edge out the Padres. I'm going to continue to do that. I think Tatis is just blowing my mind because he had the shoulder, and there was a lot of people thought it was season-ending, career-threatening, and he missed 10 days, and he's come back and played great baseball. I feel like the 2 teams that are supposed to be great, LA and San Diego, are showing they're great, and just San Francisco's here mucking up the works. And I continue to encourage San Francisco and their fan base to muck up the works, continue to stay playing 600 ball, and shock us all. It would be wonderful. I mean, they're 11-7 against the West, so they're beating their teams in their own division. They're great. They are the we don't care what anybody thought at the beginning of the season story. And to me, it's interesting. There was a time there where San Francisco won every other year for 5 years. And Boston has this way of projecting to be good and being horrible, and then projecting to be horrible and being good. So we're kind of seeing that these 2 teams that kind of do that. They kind of we can't stay consistent, but we'll be good when we want to be, and bad when you think we're good. Are doing it again. It's just fun, I guess, with those guys.
So the Central is an interesting battle, and it's really interesting because you have a Cards team that build themselves with Nolan Arenado, and then you have a Cubs team that basically didn't change. They lost some pitching, but they added some strategic pitching in there. And then you have the good old Milwaukee Brewers that seem to pick up the pace when they need to pick it up. And that battle is probably the strongest battle right now in baseball. Between all teams, there is 1 game difference. So I don't know where we go from here with that in that division.
I still think the American League East is got more possibilities for what's going to play out, but that's because I'm not sold on the Cubs doing what they're doing. I am sold on St. Louis continuing to do what they're doing, and I am sold on Milwaukee. And if you hear Cubs fans talk about St. Louis, if you ever hear that, it's like the boogeyman lives in their closet. So I'm gonna wait to see St. Louis slow down. I know the St. Louis Cardinals have been smacking the Mets around a little bit. Every time the Mets get hot, they seem to run to St. Louis and get slowed down again. So I think there's something going on there in St. Louis that's kind of to be expected. And at this point, I would call on St. Louis. I would say it's going to be real tough to be the team that's a wild card team with what's going on in the NL West. But Milwaukee, I think, has a better chance of doing it than the loser of the National League East. Whoever doesn't win the National League East, if it's not San Diego, and LA, I would give it to Milwaukee. That's where I'll go with that division right now.
And then we come to the National League East. The Braves are playing behind a gentleman that keeps amazing everybody in center field and with his bat and with his speed. And then you have a poor pitcher by the name of the Groom who doesn't seem to get run support. And I feel bad for the Groom, really, because he's an outstanding pitcher pitching for a team that doesn't seem to like him very much.
So first, I want to start with Atlanta and Freddie Freeman, because I know that's not who you're referring to, but Freddie Freeman is like every other Major League Baseball player's favorite player. He got caught. I can't think of the Cubs third baseman right now. I apologize, but he got caught in a rundown, and he's like chasing with the ball. Go, Freddie, just laughing at him, having a good time. Gets him tagged out. Another game, he struck out Freddie Freeman. I think he was a positional player pitching. Freddie Freeman and him were laughing about it. This week, DeGrom, how you mentioned, was telling Freeman how to play first base. And everybody just loves Freddie Freeman. So shout out to Freddie Freeman. And, you can make your opponents feel that much fun for you. You must be a heck of a guy. I think that's important to note. Now, DeGrom. If DeGrom played in the 80s or the 90s, I would feel bad for DeGrom. But baseball has sucked the value of the pitcher's win away so much that I don't even know why we count it as a stat anymore. Baseball has figured out that 2 times through the rotation, the lineup is really it. If you can go a third, you really have to be on. You really have to be sharp. We have relievers. We specialize in all sorts of things for relief pitchers. Guys who can handle people on base, guys who can't handle people on base, fly ball relievers, low ball. That DeGrom's job as a player on the New York Mets is to look at the team wins and the team losses and not his own. It's to continue getting strikeouts at a unfathomable pace. It's to continue to not let guys get hits and to have his team in the game come the 7th, 8th, 9th inning and to hope that somebody can do something for them. Look, the Mets are in first place, a game up on the Phillies, who are surprising everybody. They haven't really been able to run away from Philly. They getting some space on Atlanta. And they're doing it all with Lindor just not playing good ball. Lindor being that guy who came to New York and got to New York and can't and doesn't produce. I'm not gonna try to particularly decide if it's the pressure or if it's just, hey, if you look at his stats, he was on a downward projection. Maybe Cleveland knew something. I'm not here to figure out why yet. Because the Mets are in first place, and if the Mets continue to do what the Mets are doing, he's got another 130 games, give or take, to figure it out. Come the playoff time, you can't have a guy hitting what he's hitting, who you expected to be hitting 300 and have an OPS over 80 and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, the Mets look to be the team to beat. 7-3 in the last 10, 2-game win streak. They're handling their own the East quite well, 11-5, so they're going to have tiebreakers over everybody. Although baseball doesn't do tiebreakers. They win at home, a little struggles on the road, but this is a team that's out there playing well with their perceived best player not doing it. So I think the Mets, if you told the Mets they would be in first place by a game, be 4 games over 500, and have Lindor doing what Lindor is doing, they would have laughed at you. They would have thought that DeGrom had been fantastic. And bigger concern with DeGrom is his injuries, not his run support. I think we're in a different world of Major League Baseball now.
So I want to transfer now to the NHL because playoff time is here, and playoff time is always a happy time in NHL. Let's start looking at what has transpired so far. We have the Blues against the Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche leads again the Blues one more series. It was the Avalanche that took out the Blues last season, and we haven't seen that Blues team that won 2 years ago the Cup.
Yeah, I think that Blues team is gone. I especially think that's the problem if you're playing the Avalanche. They are, I think, too good to really be messing around with. I feel like the Avalanche are and the Golden Knights are really the teams from America that are really going to try to make a push this year. The Leafs probably in Canada, but there's I don't think that Blues team that won the Cup 2 years ago is still here. Whether it's just in their heads or in their bodies, I don't know, but it's gone.
So from the other side, yesterday, a 2-1 win by the Penguins over the Islanders. They tied the series at 1. And Lula Morello doesn't look too happy lately. I think he wants to get farther into the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. Is there a chance for the Islanders this time around when the Penguins are just a different team than they were last season?
I don't know. I know Crosby and Ovechkin are getting a little old in the tooth, a little long in the tooth, but I think that they're good enough right now to get their team to get their teams to whatever through the first round. I guess it is. Don't know what they call everything here, but I think we're going to get to see those two guys match up again one more time, which is fun and sentimental hockey. But like I said, I don't think it's going to matter for too long when you run into the Golden Knights, or I guess they'll be playing, if my predictions are right. Trying to look at this. Will they play Colorado?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just don't see it working out any other way for them. Yeah. I'm not feeling good if I'm the Islanders at all. I'm happy I made the playoffs, but you can't let games slip away.
So it's looking again like the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to take that title back to Tampa, and we are going to have another Tampa team with a title because definitely their counterparts in baseball, I don't think they have a chance this time around. But can the Tampa Bay Lightning ride the wave and get to the Stanley Cup?
So based on the way I see this mapped out, I do think they can get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I just don't see anyone but Colorado beating the Golden Knights and vice versa. So I think that next round, the Colorado Avalanche versus the Golden Knights is going to be your here I am saying the Knights are tied 1-1, But I think that's your Stanley Cup final right there. In my humble, poorly understanding knowledge of the NHL, I just think those are the two best teams. And that whoever comes out of that series, if they're not bloodied to the point of not being able to play, those are not teams that are likely to bloody each other up. That even if Tampa Bay gets out past the Hurricanes, past the Penguins, whatever it is, I just don't see it happening for them. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to get to be title town for that long.
So let's move on. There is only one. And look at the Northern Division. Leafs, and the only two teams there are the Leafs and the Canadiens that have somewhat of a chance. I hope the Leafs finally get past the first round so that they can say, well, we made it one more step forward. We'll take another 10 years to get to the third.
Look, I have enough trouble following hockey in my region, and you can see Philadelphia didn't even make the playoffs, nor did the Devils. But I've got some friends, mutual friends of yours, who have been talking up the Leafs all season and have never been happy about them. They've been complaining about the Leafs all season as they've led the Northern Division all season. So I'm going to leave that to my Canadian friends to decide whether the team that's led the division is the best team in the division or if they're not. Because every time my Canadian friends post about the Leafs, they're posting about their troubles, and I look and I go, but they're comfortably in first place. So maybe this might be this year's answer to the Yankee fans here in the U.S. going, oh my goodness, we're so bad, and yet you're not. So I'm going to give them a fighter's chance to get to the quarterfinals, I guess they're calling it. But again, I'm going to stick with my earlier prediction, which is bound to be wrong, of the winner of Colorado and the Golden Knights takes this thing. So they'll lose in the quarterfinals to one of those teams. But I'm going to give them the thumbs up for at least 2 rounds.
That's awesome. So I want to change to something that you love, and that's the game of football.
All right.
Let's look at what's coming up in the new NFL, the news. And I want to look also at the XFL, because the XFL is going to make its comeback, and we know that whatever Dwayne the Rock Johnson touches becomes golden. So let's look at the NFL first, and then we'll endeavor into what could be the XFL as a whole.
Okay.
So let's look at quarterbacks in their current positions. If you had your choice of the top 5, who would they be?
Let me make sure I get the top 5 in my head comfortably. So 1 and 2 are Mahomes and Rodgers, given just their ages and their ability. So that's easy. I don't know what's going to happen if he's going to ever set foot on a field again. But I do like what Watson brings onto the field. But I can't say it's top 5. I don't. The guys won't be on the field. I'm going to go Russell Wilson. I think he does a lot. I feel confident that if Wilson's on your team, you can make the playoffs. And Tom Brady is hanging on to that echelon as well. So to me, now there's 4. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the quarterbacks are okay, and there's 20% that if they're on your team, you have a legitimate shot just by them being on your team of winning the Super Bowl. And right now, it's really only those 4, if even those 4. right now it really feels like you got Mahomes and you got Rodgers, and that's your elite quarterbacks to me. Those two guys are the two super special guys. Now, we have a lot of young guys who, at the end of this year, I might be putting in that conversation. You got Burrows, who started off great, had all the looking at him. Trevor Lawrence has been a phenomenal quarterback at every level his entire life. He's been the number one quarterback coming out of high school. He was the number one quarterback coming out of college. So he could be unworldly. You got Herbert over in San Diego, who looks like he's going to be a fine quarterback, possibly. And Kyler Murray, as we're getting into the mobile quarterbacks, seems to be as athletic as Lamar Jackson, but a better thrower, although he might be hampered by his height. So those two, and then a few other names of people who might be the next guys to enter that tier of, if they're on your team, you have a shot. And yeah, the other two guys I mentioned, Tom Brady, as long as he's breathing, as long as he's physically able, but he's held off Father Time a long time so far. A long time.
So draft time it's here, and big names are out. The top three are quarterbacks in this year's draft. What do you think is going to happen to those three quarterbacks? Where can we see them go?
So I think my guess is Trevor Lawrence will be a successful NFL quarterback, no doubt. I guess it was number 2 was Wilson.
Yep.
I'm going to say Wilson can play 12 to 15 years. Will be he may never be better, than he may not even be as good as Matty Ice, but he's going to have some seasons where people are talking about him as being great. And then for Trey Lance, I'm holding my breath. For Justin Fields, I'm holding for my breath. Mac Jones, I'm holding my breath. I don't know. I did some research into this whole thing. When there's 2 of these guys are probably going to be good, possibly 3, but all 5 are not going to be good. So I'm going to put my money on the first 2. And if you made me say pick a third, I would go with Fields over Lance.
Well, Obi, I want to thank you very much. You rescued my life in today's show. And I just please remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on me_my_scotch_and_I on TikTok, and me, my Scotch, and I on YouTube. And pretty much me, my Scotch, and I on anywhere else, including the good old Instagram, where I love to post pictures of upcoming events on what we're drinking in my shows. So that's where you can find me.
So your show is Friday nights on channels 249 and 250.
Yes, sir.
At 10 o'clock, correct?
10 o'clock Friday nights, me, my Scotch, and I. We always do some good sports coverage, a little game, and then comes the highlight of the show, a little tasting that our guests love, and we all learn a little bit about some whiskey, some scotch, some wine, beer, even crabs. It's always a good time.
Thank you very much, Obi. And I want to remind you to watch that show, because this Friday, it's another special show on Me, My Scotch, and I. For the rest, I want to thank our audience for listening to this show and remind them that they can. This show can be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network and its affiliates on social media. Please remember that you can go to our website, SpanglishSportsWorld.com, and read the stories by our great commentators and columnists. Remember that Spanglish Sports World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, but especially live it. because Spanglish Sports World is sport, and sport is Spanglish Sports World. In the name of Obi Spencer and myself, Eduardo Harari, please remain safe. Please remain at home during these COVID times of the pandemic.